For God's sakes, don't do it wrong. Do not do it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Welcome to 7 Outrageous Tarot Beliefs and why you should stop believing them now, because it's all about doing it wrong. Let me illustrate.
Come on, we're running out of time.
But Dad, you're doing it wrong. Mommy doesn't do it like this.
We're gonna do it the Jack Butler method. What is this? This is nuts.
This is classic.
Why are they all honking?
Because you're doing it wrong.
Tell me I'm doing it wrong. I know how to do this.
Hi, Dad. I'm Annette.
Hi.
You're doing it wrong. See?
So all these beliefs, outrageous tarot beliefs, stem from doing it wrong, except for the last one. So belief number 1, you should be gifted your first deck. So obviously my answer on this is no, you do not have to be gifted your first deck. So this is like, oh, you're not special enough. You're not special enough to read tarot because no one gave you a deck. Well, I got news for you. We live in a very fragmented society these days. And once upon a time, families used to pass down professions. And, sons of plumbers became plumbers and their sons became plumbers and on and on and on. And they learned a trade or whatever. But that rarely happens anymore. So how are you going to get gifted a deck unless, that would be the way, is that you came from a family of psychics or card readers or whatever. So no. Now I have a friend, Linda. You may have seen us on our Psychic Fair show, and she worked at a bookstore that sold tarot cards, and she said the number one thing that was stolen were the tarot cards, because people interpreted this, you should be gifted your first deck, as, oh, well, if it's not gifted to you, you could steal it, and that's okay. Well, that's not okay either. You should just buy one. Just go on Amazon and buy you a deck. All right, outrageous belief number 2. The first step is to memorize tarot card definitions. I would say no, because your brain is going to be, just like in that opening video, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Does it really mean that? I don't know. The first step is to connect with the cards on an intuitive level. So take out your deck, spread them out, look at them. Look at the cards and see what's on there. See what you get an immediate connection with. Look at the cards and be like, okay, I really like these cards. They make me happy. I am scared of these cards. They're scary. I don't like these cards. This doesn't look good. And just try sorting them out in various different ways. If they remind you of certain things or certain people, you're like, oh yeah, this really reminds me of my best friend or whatever, and the time we went here, or however you choose to do it. And on my free online tarot class, I give you ways to do these things. But the first step is to make a personal connection with the cards. Outrageous belief number 3. The tarot comes from Egypt. I don't even know. I do know where this came from. There was a whole obsession in Europe with Egypt in like the 17 and 1800s. And so a lot of the tarot symbolism that we have today was filtered through that esoteric movement. So I don't know, somebody just started this thing that the tarot came from Egypt, but it doesn't, look at the cards. Do they look Egyptian? Do you see any kind of Egyptian iconography or symbols in there? No. Now, Hermeticism did come from Egypt, Hermeticism and alchemy. And so I guess I believe there is alchemical symbolism in tarot. So yeah, that's like a kind of a long stretch of connection, but no, the tarot does not come from Egypt. Um, it was a card game in Europe in the late Middle Ages and into the Renaissance. And there's a whole lot more to it than that. But basically, no, it does not come from Egypt. So once again, don't let these things throw you when you're trying to learn tarot. Like, does it come from Egypt or not? I don't know if it's true. It really doesn't matter. Like this one, you can just junk it because it doesn't matter. I mean, who cares? Number 4, outrageous belief number 4, you can't read tarot for yourself. You can read tarot for yourself. You just have to be aware that you may be getting in your own way, that you may be looking at things through a filter or a lens, because obviously you can't see what you can't see, and you don't know what you don't know, and all those kind of things, and your blind spots are blind to you. So if you're aware of that, then yeah, you can read tarot for yourself, and tarot can actually help you illuminate some of these blind spots and break through some of these filters and belief systems that you have. And that's over a long period of time. It's not like it just happens one day and then the veil is lifted or anything like that. But you can indeed read tarot for yourself. Just be aware that you may be getting in your own way. And if you know someone who's a reader or you want to go have a reading, go do it for clarification. Outrageous belief number 5. Yes, no questions are not allowed. I actually did believe this one. I adhered to this one for a long time. And, the reason being that when you do yes, no questions, they can leave you hanging. So that's not very useful in a reading, when the answer you get, you either want a yes or a no. And if you do not get the yes or no that you wanted, then it just kind of leaves you hanging. It's like, oh, am I going to make more money in my job? No. Well, like where, you know what I mean? It's like, where do we go from here? So that's maybe a reason to avoid them, but you can definitely ask yes, no questions with tarot. And then what I like to do with yes, no questions is you drill down on them. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to get a raise at this job. I'm not going to make more money. Is it a good idea for me to look for another job? And then, so it's like you do like the kind of the logic tree. So then based on the answer you get off that, yes or no, then you need to come up with the next logical question in the sequence and then ask that. And so if you drill down, you can use yes, no questions. Outrageous belief number 6. Don't let anyone touch your cards. Okay. So, and this is a personal preference thing. But the thing is it's kind of like fear factor, like be afraid of other people's energy. Like, and I, obviously you can tell by that statement, I'm not a psychic sponge. I usually don't have problems with like people encroaching on me that way. If you do, then you probably need stronger boundaries. But I don't have any problem with people touching my cards. In fact, I want the people to shuffle them and hand them back to me so I can lay them out. I prefer to do that. And it, once in a while, if I feel like somebody had just some weird energy or something and it got left on my cards, then I kind of spread them out and dump a bunch of salt on them and let them sit and then clean them off. You can run them through some sage smoke, or, there are things you can do to clear them, even just if you just shuffle them a bunch, or you put them, like I'll put them in order and then I'll shuffle them a bunch, and that just kind of clears it. I'll do that after events. But I just, what I want you to avoid with this belief is that, you should be like all freaked out by other people's energy and try to keep your energy completely clear, because like I say, if you're a psychic sponge, then you're going to have to maybe do a little more putting barriers in there than other people. But there's no reason to be all freaked out like, oh, your energy's freaking me out. Your energy's doing this. It's like, that's kind of the world. It's kind of the weather. Sometimes you go outside and it's super hot. Sometimes it's super cold. Sometimes it's very comfortable. So you just need to learn how to deal with it, not insulate yourself from it. And then outrageous belief number 7. If you are watching this, you probably do not believe this. a tarot reading will take away your free will. So this is kind of a longer conversation and debate here, but there you do have a fate. There are things that are fated. There's parts of your fate that you cannot change, but you know, your fate is your fate, and your free will is what you do with it. So having a tarot reading does not take away your free will. It doesn't tell you like X, Y, and Z are going to happen. And now that you had this tarot reading, that's it. It's stuck in stone. There's nothing you can do about it. On the contrary, a tarot reading can illustrate to you where you have the wiggle room and where you have the free will to influence your path forward, and can help point out the things that, you know what, probably as much as you push on it or you wish it wasn't so, it is. It is just part of your fate. So there you have it, 7 outrageous tarot beliefs you should drop immediately, because you're doing it wrong. For God's sakes, don't do it wrong.